Welcome to The Real News. I'm Mark Steiner. Banning political content by our digital media is on the rise. While we have talked about Alex Jones, the impact of his banning by Facebook, critics of the Trump administration, anti-racist activists, and activists in general have had Facebook shut down their pages and seen themselves banned by all manner of digital media. One such person is Jesse Duquette, who produces political cartoons that take on Donald Trump on his site, The Don, that had been and now is back on Instagram. Well, the one cartoon was taken down. Why was that cartoon banned? What's his content? What is this all about? We're about to find out because we're talking to Jesse Duquette. And welcome to The Real News, Jesse.
Have me.
So tell what happened. So first, before you tell us what happened, let's take a step backwards a bit. So you're a political cartoonist. Where did that begin? And how did you get into all this?
Well, the one qualifier I would say is I'm a very amateur political cartoonist.
Well, prolific amateur then.
Okay, sure, I'll take that. All right. But it started with the inauguration, or I guess most specifically the first press conference with Sean Spicer and his real wacky statement about the inauguration crowd size. Something about that really, I guess, unnecessary lie really struck me, and I think the reference at this point has become pretty stale and old, but it really conjured up a lot of memories of reading 1984. So I drew a picture of Sean Spicer, added a George Orwell quote to it, and kind of half-handedly put it up on my personal Instagram feed to share with my 100 or so friends I was connected with, and added, again off the cuff, a more of like a dare or challenge to myself that I'm going to try to do one of these every day during this administration, just to as a way of documentation. I think maybe 20% of me really believed that I would do it beyond 3 to 5 days, but here we are 576 days later.
And you have been doing these daily, right?
Yeah, every day. Yep. So
tell me what it is, before I get into the heart of the cartoon and that one cartoon being banned from Instagram and what happened as a result of that. Talk a bit about, just for a moment, I'm curious, your angst and anger at Trump. What that clearly pushes this? I mean, because some of your cartoons are, for want of a better term, to say it lightly, are forceful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think my dislike, I guess I'll put it that way, to him is not purely because of the office he holds. I think my dislike for him is very personal as well. I think he's a terrible person. It's not he's just a terrible president. He'd be a terrible fishmonger. I mean, I just think he's a bad guy. So, I think that's where so much of my animus comes from. And that also, I think, plays out to the very best people that he hires around him. I tend to feel similarly about them the more I'm, faced with them. So, yeah, I mean, it's a combination, professional and personal animosity that I definitely have towards him. So, yeah.
So let's talk about this one piece you have, this cartoon. And I'm gonna read this for our listeners, because let's pop his cartoon back up on the screen for a moment, just so we can talk about this and what was banned here. So you can see, folks, what it says, but let me really quickly. So the cartoon itself says, neo-Nazis emboldened under Trump as bigot rallies are planned to mark the 1-year anniversary of Charlottesville. And you have Trump saying, which we have seen right here, oh, you shouldn't have. Actually, you probably should have. All that mainstreaming of your sad bigot basement lives, you're welcome. With this kind of clown hat on that's a Ku Klux Klan hat, and sitting in front of a birthday cake with a Nazi emblem as a candle. And so that's what, this was banned from Instagram, right?
Yeah, for a little less than a week or so, 4 days, 3 days, 4 days.
And tell me what happened after it was banned, when you discovered it, and what interaction you may have had or not had with Instagram.
I had no interaction with Instagram. Instagram is profoundly difficult to communicate with.
As all these platforms are. They're really hard to communicate with.
By design, right? I mean,
right.
I think there's not a mistake there. But this also wasn't the first time this has happened. It's happened, I think, a total of maybe 4-ish times over the past year and a half.
To you?
Yeah. And when this one got taken down, part of me wasn't surprised because, again, the birthday cake is in the shape of a swastika, and certainly there is that does, I think, qualify under our community guideline as offensive imagery. However, the reason that was given to me, this is also the first of the 4 times where this has happened, where they actually deigned to give me a reason. Most of the time they don't. It's just like, this is taken down. Have a nice day. But this one, they actually said it was because the post encouraged violence and or depicted violence. And so that particularly, I think, really bothered me. I think if it was one thing if they said, hey, use a swastika, we're taking it down, I still would have a problem with it because there's been just outright alt-right and white nationalist accounts that posted swastikas without a trace of irony that I have reported that have remained up. So I would have taken issue with that as well. But this, I think the reasoning given just didn't square with me well. So, I put up a post about it being taken down. I thought it was important to be transparent about it. I did a little bit of loose online searching, like how can I talk to Instagram? But couldn't really find anything. Randomly, a person who follows me on Instagram works for Instagram, and they messaged me, let me know, hey, I just, I work at Instagram. I sent, a note on your behalf, kind of pleading the case. And he got back to me a couple of days later saying that Instagram had reposted it. And that's when I learned it was back up, and that they claimed it was a mistake. So I don't know, where it came from. I know that Truth Dig apparently had reached out as well to get some insight. So I don't know what moved the needle there, but something did, and lo and behold, it was back up.
And you admit, the cartoons that you draw about Trump, the one I was just looking at before I walked through the door here, I looked at a lot of them, where you have the S-hole president and his head popping out of a toilet.
Yeah.
They're more than biting. They really go after him in a really visceral way. And in intellectual ways, too, because you add a quote to everything you do from somebody, right? From Trump or some other poet or writer or whatever. So, there is a lot of anger in your stuff. I'm not saying it's not deserved, but there's a lot of anger in your stuff. But none of that other stuff was banned, just this particular one.
Well, no, there was like 3 or so other posts over time that were removed.
And what were they? What kind of things did they depict?
So the only one I can recall specifically, there was another one in which I showed him, and this is right around, I don't know which of his bigot enabling things happened. I don't know, maybe Charlottesville, where he's like, it's a side shot, he's swimming in an ocean, but he's anchored to a swastika-shaped anchor.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, yes, yeah, right.
And I put that one back up immediately because I didn't, and still do completely agree wholeheartedly with what that cartoon was saying. So that one went back up. And I don't remember specifically the other 2, what they were. But what I do remember was that it was extreme, and I reposted them, whatever they were. But I do remember that it was extremely confounding to figure out what it was. Again, they don't tell you why necessarily, but the drawings, the other ones that were taken down didn't have any even remotely offensive iconography. I think probably, some of my posts definitely have swears and curse words on them. I don't think that these did. It was very difficult to ascertain what the reasoning was. So I think to kind of color all of my sort of feelings around this is that there's not a lot of consistency, and there's definitely not a lot of equanimity with Instagram with how they choose to delineate who they're banning and why.
Well, it's been interesting. I've enjoyed this conversation, and folks, do check out the Daily Don. He's got some very poignant cartoons, and you can have a good interaction with him, as we have had here today. And Jesse Duquette, thank you so much for taking your time. Let's hear in the Real News today, and also keep on rolling. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Good to have you.
Thanks.
And folks, thank you all. I'm Mark Steiner here for the Real News Network. We'll be talking together soon. Take care.